breaking, yeah.
Hello everyone, it is I, Savant 2.0. It has been quite a while, in fact, a little bit under a year, since 12th Planet, also known as John Dazer, has released an EP titled Swamplex Terrestrial in 2018. This man has been one of the most prominent dubstep producers of our time and early innovators of the cycle recordings. Not much of a fan of his work, but I can tell you one track I find most favorable, Burst, released alongside the In This Near EP back in 2012 through the Small Records. Cannot forget one of his collaborations with Skrillex, Right on Time, as a feature for Sonny's 2011 album, Bangarang. Swamplex Terrestrial has been a controversial project and was deemed to be biting, unoriginal, and far away from John's signature sound. But that hasn't stopped him from producing several hit bangers. So anyways, today we are reviewing the sequel EP, Swamplex Extraterrestrial. Will this be a comeback? Definitely a heroic introduction to the EP, as a sort of similarity with Purple Lamborghini. Very well sets the mood of the EP, with a trappy drum loop building up the hype with a hard-stepping melody. These come some vocals on the final moments before the drop hits. I can't understand what the motherfucker is saying though. I expect more of you, John. That outro really makes me ponder, are you talking with somebody at the airport? In terms of the drop space patches, I am really quite fond of the sub-bass complementing those classic laser sounds. There is some good switch up of sounds, including a that makes the drop kind of intuitive in design. Some sirens really do fill the space as well, so in all this is actually some heavy shit to start with. The drum loops start with some old school dubstep snares, and on the second drop, some rhythm drums are there to really give the beat drop some variety. But other than that, nothing too special, but it's really formulaic writing. I'm not a fan of mumble rap, but this is John what we're talking about here. I will say I feel like I'm about to participate in a showdown with an infamous samurai in a Japanese village or some shit. First drop, there is a bit of filthiness going on in the last drop. Quarter note growls layered with that half note metal dub sound. I cannot get over how nasty that shit hits, son. Also, there's that familiar sounding, which is quite recognizable in We Don't Play. Very intriguing of a developing sound, Mr. Dazer. One very notable thing is the, which signifies some pitching down as a harmonic progression, such as the beginning also sounds like all Nixon's intros quite a bit. Asterisk attitude asterisk. This track unfortunately sounds a bit identical to Barely Alive's signature sound in some parts, but other than that, another banger. Oh wow, what a cute little melody, quite unexpected from 12. And then comes some uplifting 2012 melodic dubstep. That part might define the diversity of Swamplex Extraterrestrial. The transitions, however, could use a bit of work, but nonetheless, this should be an attractor for old school dubstep fans. Not really digging the Murder and mod step vibes one of the drops. However, other than that, there is some originality to this piece, and the most the drops having that triplet rhythm. Again, some double layering going on, which is already becoming a thing in this EP, and I really do find it useful in many situations to fill up that space, especially in the stereo field. One of my favorites so far. Sort of a quick build-up to one of Josh, also known as Monk's classic sounds. Again, not really a fan of his work, but for this particular first drop, it is a very catchy half-note rhythmic melody to hum to. The first build-up certainly have a lot going on in terms of having vibrato type of sounds. The drops are a little repetitive, but with Josh's input of a catchy riff, it is substantial to the song's structure. Then, that simple melody playing on its own leading up a surprising switch-up of a build-up is a plus. The middle drop that doesn't really have its own build-up certainly has a lot of John's input in it. Would the track have enough of a balance between the two collaborators? I would say yes, and the frog samples along with the monk's bass certainly makes it. Bang, bang, bang. From here on, these last two songs are remixes of John's previous EP. I will admit, I really listened to Swamplex Terrestrial only once and never bothered to go back again, mostly due to ignorance, except for his collaboration with Barely Alive, Good, which is probably the only favorite from that EP. Getting started. Nor do I know who Drayden is, but anyways, in terms of this track, the vocals resemble some auto-tune work that sound like Future. The minor chord of that piano in the beginning, though, puts a breather for me as a listener, especially that chorus sample, and I thought of the artwork for a bit, and it certainly gives me the feeling of being near those pyramids in ancient Egyptian times. And the drop, holy moly, some see trans. This idea certainly derived from Hysteria from Virtual Riot's recent EP. By the way, I wish I had reviewed that Headbanging Monsters masterpiece, but that was before I started my review series. Anyways, one small element that I really cannot ignore is that complex synth work is one of the things I am a fan of. I even wish there was more of that. The middle drop sounds a little messy and is missing some appealing bass patch in the mids. But it certainly has those C-trans stabs in the background still. The last drop. Holy fuck, you might have impressed me, Drayden, for that winning bass for this track. Not a whole lot going on in that part. With that high-end grittiness, it's a good backward. This is perhaps my most anticipated track of the EP, because Owalasel, also known as Cooper, has been killing it with this year's releases from him. I have been a fan of his work since the summer of 2018, however, his most recent projects have showed profound evolution with his EP, Automation. Anyways, starting off with a... I am already feeling like I will be thrown into a fucking coma from hearing a massacre, along with some bells and atmospheric pads in the background. With the brass fruit note, we are met with the classic Owalasel build-up, turning into a... deep end vocal, dropping into 4 fake-out bars into classic Cooper bass drop. Well sounds, baby. Certainly a few different patches mixed in there, and it's kind of hard to keep track of this massacre going on, motherfucker. That quarter note, high pitch next to some half-note basses certainly give off a distinctive rhythm as well. And that. The middle drop, however, a little too simple, and the patch is not as much hype, but then some eerie high-end sound walking around my headphones is so Owalasel of the guy. The final drop is pretty much the same concept, except for that. And it's really the best sounds of the EP, which isn't even John. No offense, man, but this track definitely ties with Skadim. This EP certainly comes back harder than last year's project from 12th Planet. From Brideem, back to Riddim, then to old school melodic dubstep to frog bass, to C-trance, and then to whale massacres from Owalasel. This project definitely took me for a ride, a memorable one at the least. Majestic 12's hard trap certainly invites some Purple Lambo fans over, sort of infused hip-hop as well. Deadshot's Og Nixon style lead in the intro also marks some diversity for Swamplex Extraterrestrial. So there are those influences, and the rhythm in the first couple tracks steps back from the spotlight onto Skadim's nostalgic introduction and interlude. And for Monks and Owalasel fans, the last half of tracks do keep the listeners in the mix. I have never heard of Drayden, but it's nice to bring in some underground artists, because once in a while, it is necessary to bring those people to the spotlight. Well, a drop or two were kind of messy and vocal aren't top of the notch here, John has done a fantastic job in coming back from backlash of his previous work from a lot of his fans as well as dubstep old-timers. That is it, dubsteppers. This has been episode 4 of Analysis and Review. Farewell.
Hello. Thank you for watching another video of the Savant 2.0 channel.
If you want to see more content, click here or here.
Don't forget to subscribe for the memes. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Goodbye.